Welcome back. Here with us on Overdrive. Now, Mahindra's first electric SUV, the XUV400, is based on the XUV300. It packs in a 39.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and it also gives you a range of 456 kilometers. What does it feel like to drive on the road, though? Tuhin tells us.
Now, Mahindra says that the XUV400 is the fastest accelerating car that you can buy in the mass market, with a 0 to 100 time of 8.3 seconds. Now, we can't put that claim to test, but Mahindra also says that its top speed is 150 kilometers per hour. We've just done that. In fact, we've seen an odo indicated 160 at the high-speed bowl at the Mahindra SUV proving grounds that we're at, where we're testing the XUV400. Now, you get 3 drive modes: fun, fast and fearless, and they progressively increase in performance. So in the fun mode, you have speed is limited to about 95 kilometers an hour. Now the acceleration, the throttle response is a bit less brisk, and that progressively increases to 150 kilometers per hour in the fearless mode. And we must say that even in this very steep 40-degree banking, we did find that the XUV400 to be quite stable. Of course, there's not much noise apart from the wind buffeting that you can hear. It's an EV after all. But here at a steady 100, you notice that it's a very quiet place to spend time in. So high speed, long distances will be quite calming in this SUV. So even here, when we're on this quite steep banking, you notice that the car is straight. There's some movement, as you might expect, but again, it's quite stable for a car with a relatively short wheelbase on a high speed bowl such as this one. Of course, we are in a controlled environment of this test track, and these XUV400 that we are driving aren't exactly production ready. There's still some software work to be done on it. So from what we've seen so far, the 400 seems like it'll be a competent city car, pretty much like most EVs are. So in the fun mode, you have a decent amount of performance. It's perfectly enough for you to get around your daily maybe commute. And then when you want a bit more power, the fast mode too is helpful. Although we would have liked maybe the throttle response to be a bit less sharp as you progress through the modes. But other than that, it's a perfectly usable car in both those modes. It's got that steady sort of typical EV torque that you like so much. And yeah, so that pretty much makes it a very usable car in the city. And in terms of how it rides and handles, again, it's typically like an EV. You have that slightly stiff feeling through the suspension, say over expansion joints or over potholes and manhole covers. But apart from that, say on a smooth road such as this one, it stays flat, it stays level, it stays well poised. So in that way, it is quite confidence inspiring. Now, some of the things that we would have liked to have been better, and these have sort of carried over from the XUV300, is the feel from the steering. There isn't too much feedback, it's quite light. So say when you're on a long corner such as this one, you are sometimes second guessing what the car is doing. But you have a good view out like you have in the XUV300. You can see the edges of the bonnet. So moving around in the city is not going to be an issue. And similarly, the braking. Now as you progress through the modes, you get varying degrees of regen, which we can't show you because the regen sort of gauge isn't exactly tuned and we can't even tell you what the range sort of figure is like in the real world. Although we think about a 300 kilometer range in the real world, 300-350 is achievable. But what we would have liked with the regen is that the transition between the braking and the regen could have been a bit smoother. The throttle pedal feels a bit sharp when you apply it, when you're switching over from regen to the physical brake. So coming to a complete halt easily is not very easy. But apart from that, the regen itself seems quite strong, and you have this L mode, which is quite useful. It's typically what B mode would be in many of these EVs and hybrids, and as you can see, we're coming to a complete halt. It can do that, and you don't have paddles to control the regen, which makes this L mode extremely useful in the city. So you can pretty much one pedal drive in the city, just control your speed and deceleration through the accelerator, which will make it even more easy and even more efficient to drive in the city. Now to go back to the way the XUV400 handles, there is good news here. Now we didn't like the steering, but the body movements, they are quite confidence inspiring. As you can see, the car There's not too much body roll, mainly thanks to all the weight being below you. And the car stays true to its line. So like the recent spate of Mahindras, the XUV400 is again quite a nice car to drive. Now the XUV400 only goes on sale by January of 2023. But given a choice, would you pick one? See, we can't tell you exactly how efficient it is, but with over 450 kilometers of range, even on the AREA cycle, there is reasonable, usable real-world range to be had from the car, we think at least. And we would have liked a few more features, maybe at par with what you get in the XUV300. But aside from that, the car is spacious, it's comfortable, it's nice to drive, and you have all the benefits that you look for in an EV in the XUV400. So we think generally this should be another successful product